and salam sejahtera. Today we from Group 1 will talk about a tragedy that shaped the history of modern Malaysia, namely the tragedy of May 13, 1969. It was not just a righteous incident but a reflection of the social, political and economic relates at the time. This forum is not for finger pointing, but to understand what happened, why it happened, and what we can learn to avoid repeating it again. This incident began after the 1969 general election. Parti Perikatan lost many seats, and dissident parties such as DAP, Gerakan, and PPP gained huge support, especially from Chinese community. The May 11, 1969 victory pride in the capital was accused of provoking the feelings of the Malays, especially when slogans demand insulting were raised. But if we look deeper, this tension have long existed as a result of the fundamental reporters and order of the British colonies, the placement of the people with the widening economic gap. The riots begin on the night of May 13, 1969 in Kuala Lumpur and spread to several areas. As a result, hundreds were killed, thousands were injured, and many houses and shops were burned down. Data shows that around 200 were killed, over 400 injured, and 10,000 arrested. As a result of these riots, the kingdom had declared an emergency, which led to the parliament being held and Majlis Gerakan Negara, or we call Magaran, take over administration. This event became a major inflection point to the state policy in Malaysian history.
Economics play a big role in the tension between the different communities in Malaysia. Before 1970, the economic gap between the races was very clear. The Malay community was mostly poor and worked in the agriculture, while the Chinese community dominated in business and lived in cities. The Indian community worked mainly on rubber plantations. The uneven distribution of wealth and opportunity caused inequality and dissatisfactions among the groups. This situation was and led to the May 13th, 1969 riots, which highlight the urgent need for change. In response, the government of Malaysia introduced the new economic policy, or we call it Dasar Ekonomi Baru, in 1971, with two main objectives: to eradicate poverty among the all races and to restructure society so that no ethnic group was tied to specific economic role. The Dasar Ekonomi Baru, or DEB, opened up more opportunity for Bumiputra in the corporate sector, education and government jobs. Over the years, it helped reduce poverty and create a stronger middle class among the Bumiputra communities. However, after 50 years, we need to ask if the DEB has fully success. While it's had many, it also lead to dependency on the government support, corruption and feeling of resentment from non-Bumiputra who feel excluded. Some also argue that the policy caused new form of inequality within the Bumiputra community itself. So why Dasar Ekonomi Baru brought about significant change? It's important to reflect on its long-term effects. The true economic balance is essential for national unity, but it must be achieved with fairness and transparency and shared opportunity for all.
From a political perspective, May 13 shattered many boundaries. Parliament was suspended for nearly 2 years, and Magaran, the Majlis Gerakan Negara, or National Operations Council, took over under the leadership of Tun Razak. It was during this period that we witnessed the restructuring of Malaysia's political landscape. The Rukun Negara, likewise, introduced in 1970, served as the foundations for national unity with principles such as belief in God, loyalty to the king and country, and the supremacy of the constitutions. It was not merely rhetorical, but a true effort to instill a spirit of nationhood. We also witnessed changes in the education systems, public sector recruitment, and the advancing of national identity. However, these shifts raise eyebrows about democratic space and equal opportunities. After May 13, people not only become more cautious, but also afraid to speak openly about ethnic issues. Is this a good or bad thing? That depends on how we understand history. A mature democracy is one that dares to admit its mistakes and seeks to correct them. Moreover, the political impact of the incident was a major turning point in Malaysia's political and policy directions. The suspensions of parliament and the takeover by Magran indicated how a constitutional democracy could be set aside when national stability was perceived to be under threat. This was a drastic measure, but it showed how the government saw the need to restructure the state in order to prevent deeper divisions. The principles in Rukun Negara, for instance, became the basis for rebuilding inter-ethnic trust and curbing racial rhetoric in the public sphere. Therefore, nation building through ideological unity must not come at the expense of democratic accountability and genuine pluralism. As Malaysia continues to evolve, the true test of its political maturity lies in its ability to reconcile national unity with equitable policies and respectable for all communities.
In this generation, May 13 is remembered largely as a silent chapter in our own history. It is openly discussed. We only knew that is a sensitive part of our history. Yet, how can we hope to shape our better future if we do not understand our own past? A nation that does not reflect critically on its own history risks repeating its mistake. Memory is not about blame, it is about responsibility and awareness. Even today, we continue to see signs of lingering prejudice in our own society. Stereotype persist, often quietly reinforced through social assumptions. Subtle form of discrimination still occur, whether in employment decision, educational spaces, and casual interaction. These issues are not always overt, but they remain present. At the same time, the younger generation holds a distinct advantage. We are more globally connected, our perspective is more exposed to diverse perspectives and more openly to question long-held assumptions. This gives us an opportunity and a responsibility to shift the narrative. We need a new approach to inter-ethnic relations in this country, not one based on fear or silence, but one grounded in dialogue, mutual recognition, and respect. Tolerance, while often encouraged, is not sufficient. Tolerance implies distance and restraints. What we require is a deeper form of engagement, one that acknowledges differences, yet still affirms shared dignity. Creating such a culture begins with conversation, not only in formal institutions like universities, but in local communities, in a workplace, and within families. We do not speak, we will forget, and if we forget, we may once again find ourselves repeating the same history we were too afraid to confront.
So, for summary, let's recap what we highlighted in this forum. We believe that the tragedy of May 13th in Malaysia should be a starting point for understanding between people, not pen up the drama. The tragedy must not use to divide or assign the blame, but to spark meaningful reflection on how fragile harmony can be when trust breaks down. It is a reminder of the importance of compassion, empathy, and the willingness to listen to one another when perspective even differs. Instead of letting the pain fester in silence, we must engage with the history honestly and maturely. In the past, we acknowledged that this event led to the division races in Malaysia between Malay, Chinese, and Indian. However, in recent days, we believe that our duty as people is to rebuild the trust in the history. Of course, that should be happening in our community. So this is not the task for only the government itself, but all of us, teachers, parents, community leaders, and for us as the students as well. We need to teach our people that being Malaysian means we share a history, homeland, and the future. The understanding of May 13 needs to be balanced, not to assign blame to any group, but to reflect on the condition that led to the tragedy. This is not about harboring the pent-up drama, rather it is our effort to face history with honesty and the empathy. Acknowledging the complexity of what happened allows society to foster unity, strengthen social cohesion, and prevent the future conflict. The tragedy reminds us the importance of inclusive governance, open dialogue, and mutual respect between one another. Let this tragedy be a source of wisdom, not pain that refuses to fade. 3.
History is not to be feared, it is to be used as a mirror.
Economic justified is the basis for harmony.
Politics should be a tool of unity, not division.
Young people must continue to speak out to build a common future.
We do not inherit for the divisions, but our responsibility is to foster the community.
That's all from us. Thank you.